He would never forget that first moment when the rain hit the cabin roof, how it had started with such a soft patter, then gradually intensified, creating a rhythm on the wooden shingles. A perfect sound for sleep, a perfect moment for peace. I wonder where you are listening to this story tonight, perhaps in your bed, under the covers, or in the soft embrace of an armchair. If you like, you can share in the comments. I'm always curious about where my listeners are. Now settle in comfortably, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and let the story of this rainy day carry you away. In April 1889, in the small town of Kent in southeastern England, there was an old gardener named Thomas Whitmore, 65 years old, maybe a little more. No one knew for sure because he didn't remember himself anymore. His hair was completely white, but still thick and wavy, his hands wrinkled and stained with soil, his fingers thickened by years of labor, his back slightly bent but strong, his steps slow but determined. Every morning he would wake up before sunrise, put on one of his old cotton shirts, throw on his thick woolen vest, lace up his boots, and go out to the garden. He had kept up this routine for 40 years, maybe more. He didn't even try to remember anymore. He just did it, as natural as breathing, as necessary as a heart. The garden wasn't large, but it was rich and fertile, stretching behind an old mansion on the outskirts of town, once belonging to the nobility but now abandoned. Only the garden remained. Thomas cared only about the greenery, the flowers, the vegetables, the fruits, each blooming, bearing fruit, withering, and disappearing in its own season. But Thomas was always there, waiting, watching, caring. In the very center of the garden, under the shade of old oak trees, stood a small cottage, a wooden structure built on stone foundations, with a tiled roof, small but clear windows, and a door made of thick oak, slightly swollen with the dampness of the years, creaking when opened and making a hollow sound when closed. This cabin was Thomas's refuge, his workspace, his place of contemplation, his treasure. That morning, on the 14th day of April, Thomas had risen early as usual, had his simple breakfast, black tea, buttered bread, a little cheese, and then gone outside. The air was cool but pleasant, the sky clear, the sun not yet fully risen, but a golden light visible on the horizon, the birds beginning to sing, doves, blackbirds, sparrows, each greeting the morning with its own melody. Thomas walked into the garden, his footsteps making a soft crunch on the pebbles. The soil smelled damp from the previous night's dew, wet leaves, fresh grass, spring flowers, each scent distinct, yet blending harmoniously, a symphony of scents. When he reached the shed, he opened the door. Inside it was cool and dim. Wooden shelves were filled with pots, seeds, garden tools, old tin cans, glass jars, everything in its place, neat, clean, arranged by Thomas's hands, objects that had stood in the same spot for years, familiar, safe, a place reminiscent of home. Objects that had stood in the same spot for years, familiar, safe, a place. There was a small table in the middle with unopened seed packages, a half-finished repair job, a metal shovel with a broken handle. He had planned to pick it up a few days ago, but hadn't found the time yet. Maybe today, he thought, but he didn't rush. He never did. He examined one of the shelves. Tomato seeds, cucumber, beans, peas, each in small paper envelopes, names and dates written on them in pencil, some from last year, some older. Thomas picked each one up, felt their weight, remembered where he had planted them, how they had grown, their taste, their color. Each seed was a memory, each packet a season. He looked out the window. The sun was rising now. The garden was bright. The flowers were beginning to open. Yellow daffodils, purple hyacinths, white daisies, each turned toward the sun, seeming to draw its light inside. Thomas sat down at the table, a wooden chair, without a cushion, but worn smooth by years of use, comfortable, shaped to his body. She rested his arms on the table, laid out the seed packets in front of him. and thought about what to plant, where to plant it. On the table, laid out the seed packets in front of him and thought about maybe more tomatoes this year. Last year they had been very good, red, juicy, sweet. The neighbors had loved them. Maybe a few more cucumbers in the north corner of the garden, where the soil was moister. Cucumbers liked moisture. He ran his hands over the table. The wood was cool and rough, worn by years of use, small scratches and stains, each telling a story, a day, a moment. Something had changed outside. He sensed it but didn't know exactly what at first. Then he realized the birdsong had stopped. Not completely, but diminished. They were chirping more rarely, more cautiously. Thomas looked out the window. The sky was changing, the clear blue giving way to shades of gray. Clouds were coming from the west, thick, dark, heavy clouds, slowly covering the sky. The sun hid, the light dimmed, the air suddenly turned cool. Thomas knew these signs. Rain was coming, unexpected but welcome rain. The garden needed water. The soil was starting to dry out. The plants were thirsty. Thomas heard it when the first drop fell on the roof. A single drop, clear, distinct, as if a finger had lightly tapped the cabin. Then another, then 3, 4, 5. Then it became impossible to count. The rain began, slowly at first, gently, then faster, then very fast. It created a rhythm on the roof, regular, repetitive, but not at all annoying. On the contrary, it was soothing, the kind that calms a troubled mind. Thomas smiled, a slight smile of satisfaction. Good, he thought, the garden will drink. The soil will soften, accepting the water as if it had been soaked in. Planting seeds will be easier. He got up, feeling a slight stiffness in his knees. He went to the door, opened it gently a little, and looked outside. The rain was heavy, the smell of wetness immediately filling his nose. The sky was almost dark, as if evening had fallen early. The clouds were very low, almost within reach, as if he could catch them if he stretched out his hand. The garden was blurred, everything hidden behind a gray curtain, a rainy veil. Only the nearby trees were discernible, ghostly and indistinct. The leaves danced wildly in the rain. The branches swayed violently. The soil drank up the thirst, almost greedily. Thomas closed the door. A cold breeze had entered. He turned back inside, knowing he couldn't go out now, at least not for a while. Maybe an hour, maybe more. This rain wouldn't stop anytime soon. The clouds were too thick, too determined, but it didn't matter. He wasn't in a hurry. He had work to do here. Seed packets to organize, tools to check, maybe that broken shovel handle to finally repair. There was time, plenty of time. He returned to the table and sat down again. He picked up the seed packets once more, this time looking at them more carefully, more intently. Some were old, the paper yellowed and brittle, the ink faded over time, but the seeds inside might still be good, perhaps. He had to try. Maybe he could plant a few and test them in the coming days. If they sprouted, great. If not, no harm done. He would get new seeds from the village, from Mr. Fletcher's shop. He reached for one of the shelves and took down an old tin box. It had a rusty label on it, the writing no longer legible, worn away over the years. But Thomas knew what was inside. Small gardening tools, pruning shears, a small knife, pieces of string, wooden labels, pencils. Each one had been in the same tin for years. Each one used countless times. Repaired, reused. He placed the tin on the table with a heavy thud. He opened the lid. Inside were copper, brass, and wooden items. Each one had a different texture, a different weight. He picked up the pruning shears. They were old but sturdy. The metal parts were a little rusty, but still sharp. The handles wooden, smoothed and polished by years of use, almost molded to the shape of his hand. The shears looked fine, but he wanted to clean them anyway. Apply a little oil, remove the rust. He took a cloth from the shelf. It was an old sackcloth, soft and absorbent. He poured a little lamp oil on it. It sent light but sharp, tickling his nose. Then he began to rub the shears. Slowly, patiently, lovingly, he rubbed each metal part, every side, rubbing the rusty parts more. The cloth turned black, removing rust and dirt. Thomas was satisfied. He loved this work. Taking care of tools, cleaning them, repairing them, giving them life, each tool was a friend, a helper, a companion. They deserved to be valued, to be respected. Outside, the rain didn't let up. On the contrary, it grew heavier. The wind began to blow, shaking the cabin slightly, the wooden walls creaking as if complaining. The windows rattled in their frames. But Thomas wasn't worried. The cabin was sturdy. It had been here for decades. It had seen worse storms, stronger winds. It would hold. It always had. He finished the scissors. They gleamed now, the metal parts almost like new. The rust was gone, oiled. He moved the scissors, opening and closing them. It moved smoothly, quietly, without a sound. Perfect. He put it back in its place, back in the box. Then he took the small knife and did the same with it. He cleaned it, oiled it, polished it. The hours passed, but Thomas was unaware. He wasn't keeping track of time. He was just focused on his work. Every tool, every packet of seeds, every object caught his attention. He picked them up, examined them, cleaned them, organized them. There was a clock in the shed, hanging on the wall. It was an old pocket watch left behind by Thomas's grandfather. It had a brass case, a scratched glass face, but it still worked. Its ticking mingled with the sound of the rain, regular, monotonous, not annoying. Thomas looked at the clock, squinting. It was almost noon. He felt a slight hunger in his stomach, his insides rumbling, but he couldn't go outside and go home. The rain was still too heavy. He would get completely soaked, catch a cold. He was old now. He had to be careful. He would wait. He looked to see if there was anything to eat in the shed. There was a small wooden cupboard in the corner. He opened the door. The hinges creaked. He found a few things inside. An old tin of biscuits, half gone, probably stale but edible. A glass jar with apple jam, golden yellow, made by her last year. A bottle of water, half full. It was enough. She didn't need more anyway. He took the biscuits and bit into one. It really was hard, almost like a rock, but it wasn't bad. It tasted of wheat, slightly sweet, slightly unsalted. It softened in his mouth as he chewed, moistened. He opened the water bottle and took a sip. It was cool and clean, soothing his throat, helping him swallow the biscuit. As he sat there, he looked out the window. The rain was still falling. It hadn't let up at all. Maybe it was a little less intense, but it was still heavy, still persistent. The sky was dark, as if it were evening, but it wasn't even noon yet. He couldn't see the garden anymore. Everything was gray, blurry, foggy. There was only the sound of the rain hitting the roof, falling on the ground, striking the leaves. A different sound on every surface, like an orchestra, complex yet harmonious, chaotic yet orderly. Thomas took a deep breath, relaxed, at peace. In this cabin, under the rain, isolated from the rest of the world, quiet and safe, but not alone. He was with his tools, his seeds, his memories. He thought about the past, turning pages in his mind. His younger years, how he got started in this work. At 15, he had begun working with his father. He too was a gardener, at a larger estate, a place owned by a lord. Thomas had learned everything from him: how to plant, how to water, how to prune, how to harvest. Every plant was different, every vegetable different, every flower had different needs. It took time to learn, years. It required patience. But he was patient, curious. He loved this work, the smell of the soil, the greenery, the growth. His father had died years ago, 40 years ago perhaps, maybe more. Thomas still remembered that day clearly. It was winter, cold, snowy, everything white. His father had fallen ill. His lungs, he couldn't breathe. Every breath was an effort. The doctors couldn't do anything. Not much was known back then. He had been in bed for a week. Then he was gone, quietly as if he had fallen asleep. When they went in the morning, he was cold. Thomas cried a lot that day. He had never cried like that before. He was left alone. His mother had died years ago during childbirth. He had no siblings. Never had. It was just him. Alone. Young but now an orphan. At first he didn't know what to do, but he couldn't leave the garden. He had continued working, just like his father, just like his father's father, a tradition that had lasted for generations, a family legacy. The soil, the plants, the seasons, the cycle. Now he sat here, 65 years old, alone again, but he was not afraid of loneliness. He had grown accustomed to it, perhaps even come to love it. He didn't have to answer to anyone, didn't have to explain himself to anyone, just himself, his garden, nature. That was enough. That was enough for him. He took another biscuit and ate it slowly. As he chewed, he watched outside carefully. The rain seemed to have eased a little. Maybe he was imagining it, but that's how it felt. The clouds had parted a little. The sky was a little brighter. The sun wasn't out yet, but maybe it would come out soon. Maybe the rain would stop completely. Maybe he could go outside. He could check the garden, the plants. How is it? How is the soil? Is there any damage? Is everything okay? But he didn't rush. He waited, patient, accustomed to waiting. He took another sip of water, didn't open the jam, saved it for later. Maybe in the evening, with bread and tea. He got up from the table wanting to walk a little. His legs had gone numb from sitting. His knees had stiffened. The cabin was small but big enough to walk around in from one corner to the other. A few steps, then back. He wandered among the shelves, running his hand over the objects. Pots, sacks of soil, a small wheelbarrow, a broken hoe, waiting to be repaired. Everything was familiar. Everything had been there for years. Unchanging, reliable, solid. An old calendar hung on the wall, from 1888, left over from last year. Thomas hadn't changed it. Perhaps he had forgotten or didn't care. The date didn't matter much here. The seasons were what mattered. Not the month, not the day. Spring, summer, fall, winter. These 4 cycles, this turning wheel, unstoppable, unchangeable, only acceptable. He approached the window again and looked outside carefully. Yes, the rain had definitely eased. That violent tempo was gone, replaced by a softer, gentler sound, like a drizzle, almost a whisper. The clouds were parting, revealing a patch of sky in the west. Still gray but lighter, almost white broken pieces of cloud. Light was seeping through them, golden threads of light. The sun wasn't out yet, but it was close. Thomas could feel it, knew it with a gardener's instinct. He went to the door, opened it completely this time. Both wings. Cool air rushed in immediately. Damp, fresh, clean. The smell of rain, the smell of earth, the smell of grass, the smell of flowers, all together, mixed together. He took a deep breath, drew the air into his lungs, held it for a moment, savored it, then slowly let it out. He relaxed, loosened up, his shoulders dropped. He stepped outside, paused at the threshold, and gazed out at the garden. What a sight! Everything was wet and glistening. The leaves, the flowers, the stones, the soil. It was as if everything had been freshly washed, renewed, refreshed. The colors were more vivid, the greens greener, the yellows yellower, the purples purpler. The light helped too, that soft golden light filtering through the clouds. It illuminated everything, enlivened everything, gave life to everything. He could see the small path in the middle of the garden, the pebbles covered with water, glistening. Small pools of water had formed in the hollows, reflecting the sky, like little mirrors, like miniature lakes. Thomas stepped completely out of the shed and began to walk slowly through the garden. His boots made noise on the wet pebbles, crunch, squish, the sound of water. His steps were slow, cautious, as if checking the ground, careful not to slip. With each step, the soil felt a little softer, damp, wet, deep, absorbent. The plants had clearly absorbed the water. Their leaves looked plump, swollen, healthy. Some flowers had bloomed right during the rain. Daffodils, hyacinths, they had bowed to the water, bent under its weight, then stood up again. Now they looked up at the sky, their petals glistening, bright, vivid, almost sparkling. He walked over to where the tomato seedlings were. They were still small. They were only a few weeks old, their leaves delicate, green, thin, fragile. He checked them closely. Any damage? The rain had been very heavy, perhaps knocked some over, but no, they were all in place, upright, sturdy, standing tall. The soil around them had become a little hollowed out from the puddles, but that was okay. It would drain. The soil would absorb it. The seedlings were strong. He moved to the corner where the cucumbers were, which was more shaded, under the trees. The soil was very wet, almost muddy, and his feet sank in slightly, but the cucumbers loved the moisture. They seemed happy. It would be good for them. Very good. As he walked, he heard the birds singing again. They had returned. The rain had almost completely stopped. There was only a light drizzle now, barely noticeable. The sky cleared a little more. The sun began to appear in the west. It hadn't fully risen yet, but on the horizon, between the clouds, it was spreading a reddish-orange light, low, close to the west. It was getting close to evening. Thomas suddenly realized the whole day had passed. He had been in the cabin since morning for hours, but he hadn't noticed at all. Time had flown by. How quickly it had passed, but it was beautiful, peaceful, relaxing, a good day. He came to the old oak tree, to the base of its massive trunk. Its trunk was thick as an arm, its bark cracked, with deep fissure, old, very old, older even than Thomas. Perhaps 100 years old, perhaps more. No one knew. Every year it shed its leaves. Every spring new leaves would sprout. The cycle, always the cycle, never ending. He placed his hand on the trunk, touched it, felt it. The bark was cold and damp, rough, hard, mossy, but there was life inside. He could feel it. Sap flowed through its veins. Strength lay in its roots. Deep down, this tree had seen many things, years, generations, seasons, wars, peace. It had always stood here, silently, patiently, unshaken, the one thing that never changed. Thomas stood at the base of the tree, raised his head, and looked up at the branches. The leaves had not yet fully opened. There were buds, green, swollen, puffy, ready to burst at any moment. In a few days, maybe a week, maybe less, then the tree would be completely green, providing shade, coolness in the summer heat. Birds would build nests in its branches. Life would fill every corner, chirping, the sound of wings. He smiled. He loved this tree. It was familiar, reliable, unchanging. It had always been here, and it always would be. Even when he was gone, the tree would remain. For hundreds of years more, others would come, new gardeners, new hands, new eyes, but the tree would remain the same tree, unchanging, eternal, infinite. He returned to the cabin slowly, without rushing, watching the garden. He checked every corner, every flower, every plant, every spot with his eyes. Everything was beautiful. Everything was healthy. Everything was in its place. The rain had come at just the right time, when it was needed most. Nature knew when to give and when to take. Balance, always harmony. When he reached the cabin, he stopped at the door and looked back one last time. The sun was setting, slowly sinking toward the horizon. The sky was changing colors. Orange, pink, purple, lavender. The clouds had dispersed, leaving only a few thin streaks on the horizon, glowing like gold leaf. A magnificent, breathtaking view. He went inside, didn't close the door, left it open, so air could get in, so the dampness could go, so the cabin could breathe. He sat down at the table, a little tired. His legs ached slightly, his back was stiff, his neck tense, but it wasn't a bad tiredness, Not painful. It was a satisfying tiredness, the tiredness of a man who had had a full day and finished his work. He was relaxed, peaceful, even happy. He picked up the broken shovel, which he hadn't repaired yet, having forgotten about it between the rain and cleaning. But it didn't matter. He would do it tomorrow, or the day after, or some other day. There was no rush. No rush for anything. There never had been. He suddenly remembered the jam, the biscuits, the jar sitting in the cupboard. His stomach was a little hungry. It had started to rumble. He could make a simple dinner: biscuits, jam, water. That was enough. He didn't need anything else anyway. He got up slowly to his feet. He went to the cupboard, took the jam, took the biscuits, took the water. She put everything on the table, opened the jar. The lid resisted a little, then loosened. The jam was red, dark red, apple jam. She had made it last summer from the old apple tree at the back of the garden. The apples were small but sweet, tart, perfectly balanced. She knew the jam would be perfect. She had boiled the apples, chopped them, added sugar, lemon juice, vanilla. She had stirred patiently for hours until it thickened. Then she had filled the jar, closed the lid tightly, stored it for winter, for a day like this. She spread a generous amount of jam on a biscuit. She took a bite. It was sweet. The taste of apple filled her mouth, rich, soft, pleasant. The biscuit had softened with the jam, making it easier to chew. She swallowed, satisfied. It was simple but satisfying. Simplicity was beautiful. She drank some water, cleansing her palate, refreshing her mouth. She took another biscuit, spread jam on it, and ate it, slowly, savoring the taste, without rush. No one was watching. No one was waiting. Just herself, the time, the night, the peace. Outside, darkness was falling, quickly but softly. The sky was darkening, purple, navy blue, black, like stars began to appear. First one, then too many to count. Bright, clear, crisp, sparkling. The clouds had completely disappeared. The air had cleared, become clean. The coolness of the night was coming, seeping in quietly. Thomas felt it, got up, went to close the door. But first he looked outside one last time. A long look. The garden was dark, only the moonlight illuminated it faintly. A silvery light, soft, ghostly, dreamlike. Everything was silent. The birds had fallen quiet, perched, only the gentle rustle of the wind, softly rustling the leaves. A distant owl's hoot, single, long, echoing. Then silence again, deep silence. Peace. He closed the door, softly, pushing it shut. The creak was familiar, the same sound for years. He pulled the bolt, metal scraping against metal, locking it. He was safe now. Inside, warm, dry. Outside, dark, cold. Not here. There was a small lantern in the cabin, an old gas lantern hanging on the wall. He lit it, striking a match. Click. The flame went from lifeless blue to vivid orange-yellow, flickering, undulating. The light spread around, slowly growing. Shadows danced on the walls, playful, flickering, alive, but not disturbing, quite the opposite. Soothing, comforting, a familiar dance. In the lantern's light, the cabin seemed smaller, warmer, more intimate, more embracing, isolated from the darkness and cold outside, a safe cocoon, a sheltered nest, a refuge. Thomas returned to the table and sat down slowly. He placed his hands on the table and stared at them for a long time. Wrinkled, aged hands dotted with brown spots. These were the marks of years of sun, soil, and labor. Every line a story, every mark a moment, every stain a memory. These hands had done so much, seen so much. They had planted, harvested, repaired, built, demolished, rebuilt. Life had passed through them in the soil, in the garden, in the plants, throughout the seasons. He wondered how much longer he could use these hands. How many more springs, how many more summers, how many more harvests would he see? He didn't know. No one knew. There was no way to know. But it didn't matter. He was here now, still strong, still able, still working, still alive. That was enough. His eyes began to grow heavy, his eyelids drooping. Fatigue came over him, heavy but pleasant. A sweet, soft fatigue. A good fatigue. He didn't resist, didn't want to resist. It was a pleasant feeling, the peace that came at the end of the day, the satisfaction of a job well done, the right to rest, a well-earned respite. He blew out the lantern, like a match. Darkness filled the cabin immediately, but his eyes had adjusted. Moonlight seeped through the window, faint, silvery, enough for him to see, enough for him to move, enough for him to live. In the corner was a small mattress, an old bed, simple, a woolen blanket, a flat pillow, nothing more. Thomas sometimes stayed here, especially on days when he was tired, or on mornings when he wanted to start very early, at dawn. Instead of going home and back, he slept here. It was simple but comfortable. It was warm, safe, sufficient. He lay down on the mattress on his back, pulling the blanket over him. It was soft woolen, a bit worn but still warm, still doing its job. He laid his head on the pillow, found a comfortable position. He relaxed, letting his body go. His muscles softened, the tension melted away. The stiffness that had built up all day flowed out. His breathing slowed, deep, steady, quiet, comfortable. He watched the ceiling, the wooden beams visible in the dim light, shadows, shapes, indistinct forms. Sometimes his imagination played games, seeing patterns in these lines, faces, animals, clouds, memories. But tonight he saw nothing, just stared blankly, without thinking, without feeling, without judging, just being, just breathing. The faint sound of rain still reached his ears, very faint, almost inaudible. Drops rolling off the roof, flowing down the gutter, distant, echoing, like a lullaby, like a whisper, soothing, sleep-inducing, peaceful. His eyes closed slowly, heavily, not reluctantly, naturally, inevitably, necessarily. With the next breath, they grew heavier still. He couldn't open them, didn't open them, didn't want to open them. They closed completely, and it became dark, but not a frightening darkness, a comforting, enveloping, warm darkness, a soft darkness. Dreams began to come, not yet clear, blurry, shapeless. Colors, sounds, smells. The garden flowers, spring sun. Soil, hands, hands in the soil, hands on seeds, hands on plants. Cycle, cycle, always cycle. Begins, end, ends begin, never stopping. The seasons turn, time flows, like a river. Thomas was sleeping now, deeply, peacefully, calmly. His breathing was steady, his face serene, relaxed, peaceful. On the blanket, on the mattress, in his cabin, in his garden, in his own world, in his own home. He was safe. He was at peace. He was home. Finally, he was home. Outside, night was deepening. Slowly, silently, the stars were brighter, the moon higher, the sky soft as black velvet. The garden glowed in the silver light, every leaf, every branch shimmering. The plants were resting now, in a deep tranquility. The flowers had closed their petals. The leaves were motionless. The wind had completely died down. Complete silence, a deep, sacred silence, a soothing silence. Only the distant hooting of an owl, sporadic, soft, then nothing again. The earth was breathing, slowly, deeply, peacefully. It was drawing in the life given by the rain, carrying it to the roots, to the branches, to the leaves, to the flowers. Everything was alive. Everything was growing, invisible, silent, but incessantly, every second, every minute, every hour. Nature was sleeping. Nature was resting. Nature was renewing itself. There was no light in Thomas's cabin. The lantern was out, the windows dark, but inside a man was sleeping, deeply, very deeply, peacefully, in dreams, in memories, in the past, in the future, everywhere, Nowhere beyond time had stopped for him. Reality had melted away. There was only sleep, pure, clear, satisfying sleep. Restful, restorative, soothing sleep. His body was resting, his muscles relaxed, his breathing slow. His mind was resting, thoughts stopped, worries melted away. His soul was resting, finding peace and tranquility. Every cell was renewing, repairing, strengthening. It was preparing for tomorrow, for a new day, for a new beginning. Sleep, pure sleep, deep sleep. The hours passed, slowly, quietly. Midnight came and went. Time moved towards morning. The sky slowly began to lighten in the east. Very slowly, very gently. The sun was not yet there, but the harbingers of light were coming. Purple tones, then pink, then orange. Slowly, without haste. Patiently, the sky was painting its canvas, layer by layer, color by color. There were no clouds, just clear, open, clean skies. It would be a beautiful morning, a peaceful morning, a new beginning. Thomas was still sleeping in the cabin, motionless, silent, calm. Only his breathing could be heard, regular, deep, relaxed. Dreams had diminished, sleep had deepened, reaching its deepest stage. Brain waves were slow, regular, peaceful, tranquil. The body was in a state of complete rest. Muscles relaxed, soft, pulse was slow, blood pressure low, everything perfect, perfect sleep, ideal rest, complete relaxation. When she woke up in the morning, she would be refreshed, fit, strong, ready, renewed. Sleep healed her, sleep repaired her, sleep renewed her. The sun finally rose, appearing slowly on the horizon, red, bright, magnificent, warm. Its rays spread across the ground, the garden, the trees, the flowers. It illuminated everything, warmed everything, gave life to everything. The leaves sparkled, the dewdrops like diamonds, like silver, glistening. The grass glowed green. The flowers were colorful, vibrant, fresh, awake. The birds began to wake up, chirping, singing, each with its own melody, its own voice. The symphony of the morning, the celebration of life, the welcoming of a new day, calm, peaceful, beautiful. Thomas also woke up slowly, very slowly, naturally. His eyes blinked, opened, closed, opened again, focused. He looked at the ceiling, the beams, the wood, familiar, safe. He remembered where he was. The cabin, the garden, home. He remembered yesterday, the rain, the cleaning, the evening, the sleep. He smiled slightly, satisfied. A good night, a restful night, a peaceful night. He wanted to get up but didn't rush. Lying there for a few more minutes, he yawned, stretched his muscles. His joints cracked softly. Then he got up, slowly sitting on the mattress. The blanket fell softly over his knees. He looked at the window, sun, light, a new day, beautiful, peaceful, perfect. He stood up slowly, stretched his legs, his knees creaking slightly. He put on his boots, the leather cold and stiff in the first light of morning, laced them tightly, with practiced movements, without thinking. In the cabin, only a vest, but it was enough. It was warm outside. There was no coat. The sun was already warming, rising in the sky, scattering golden rays. He went to the door, the heavy wooden door, placed his hand on the handle, cool metal, turned it, opened it slowly. Light flooded in immediately, bright, warm, vivid, almost tangible. He squinted a little until his eyes adjusted. It was so bright, so beautiful. Then he stepped outside, standing right in the middle of the threshold. He took a deep breath. The morning air fresh, clean, cool, still slightly damp. He filled his lungs all the way to the bottom, held it for a few seconds, then slowly let it out. Perfect. Everything was perfect. Living was beautiful. Breathing was beautiful. Being here was beautiful. He looked at the garden, his eyes taking in the view. How beautiful it was like this, in the light, in the sun, in the first light of morning. Everything was sparkling, alive, fresh, renewed. After the rain, the soil had taken on a dark color, a rich brown, almost black. Looking fertile and bountiful, the plants looked healthy, strong, rested, as if they too had slept through the night. The leaves had opened, stretched, turned toward the sun. The flowers had bloomed, shining with their colors, yellows, purples, whites, pinks. Everything was fine. Everything was as it should be. Everything was perfect. The garden was peaceful, a quiet peace, a serene beauty. He began to walk, slowly, without rushing, along the path. The pebbles were dry now. The sun had dried them. The places where the water had evaporated had left white spots, traces of salt, traces of minerals. The sun had worked fast, without stopping. The soil was still moist, but no longer muddy, just right, perfect for planting, the ideal time for sowing seeds. Today he could plant seeds, tomatoes, cucumbers, beans, peas, everything. He had already planned it yesterday, thought it through, prepared. Now he would do it. Start today. Begin a new cycle. He approached the tomato seedlings, knelt down slowly, pressing his knees into the soil. He checked again, looked closely, gently touched the leaves. Yes, they were all sturdy, strong, standing tall. They seemed to have grown overnight, maybe an inch, maybe more. Maybe it was imagination, maybe reality. It didn't matter. They were beautiful, green, healthy, alive, full of life. He would move them soon to bigger pots or directly into the soil in the sunniest corner of the garden. In a few days, it was still early. No need to rush. They would wait a little longer, grow, get stronger. Their roots would solidify. Then they would go outside, be free, reach the big world. He looked at the cucumbers. They were also in good shape, looking happy. They clearly loved the moisture in the soil. Their leaves were open, green, large, and broad. Their roots had gone deep, strong, sturdy, clinging to the soil. They would bear fruit in a few weeks, maybe by the end of the month. Long, green, fresh cucumbers, for summer, for hot days, for salads, for pickles. Thomas loved cucumbers, simple but tasty, juicy, cool, refreshing, perfect in the summer heat, cooling, quenching thirst. He walked toward the old oak tree, slowly, respectfully. He touched its trunk, pressed his palm against the bark, still cold, still damp. "Good morning," he said to himself, silently, without moving his lips. The tree did not answer. Of course, it could not speak. But Thomas felt something, a connection, an understanding, an accept. The tree knew, saw everything, heard everything, silently, patiently, for centuries. Birds nested in the branches, chirping, singing, calling to each other. They would feed their young soon. The eggs must have hatched by now, or would hatch today or tomorrow. Life, life everywhere. In every corner, on every branch, unstoppable, inevitable, beautiful, miraculous. He returned to the cabin, slowly, thoughtfully. He entered. Darkness enveloped him. His eyes adjusted. He sat down at the table, on the wooden chair, comfortably. Time to plan, time to think, time to decide. What would he do today? In what order? For how long? First, breakfast. Absolutely. He needed strength. He needed energy. Then planting seeds, the most important task. The beginning. Then watering. The plants might be thirsty. Then maybe pruning. Some branches were too long. Some leaves were diseased. There was a lot of work. There always was. Endless tasks, infinite duties. But there was no rush, no panic, no stress. There was the whole day, the whole week, the whole season, the whole year. Time was plentiful, patience infinite, peace boundless. He would do everything, slowly, carefully, meticulously, lovingly, just as he always did, just as his father did, just as his grandfather did. Tradition, heritage, respect, love, life. He took the seed packets gently, touching each one. He laid them out on the table, in a neat row, orderly. Tomatoes, cucumbers, beans, peas, carrots, lettuce, spinach, arugula, each one a hope, a promise, a future, a dream. He would plant them today in the soil, in the darkness, deep down. Then he would wait patiently for days, for weeks. He would give them water every day, every morning, every evening. He would give them light, sun, warmth. He would give them love, care, attention, his focus. Then they would give back generously fruit, vegetables, life, abundance, plenty. The cycle would be complete. Once more, again, it would start again, without stopping, forever and ever. The story would go on like this, calmly, peacefully, like a bedtime story, like a soothing nighttime tale for grown-ups. Every seed was a dream, every leaf a breath, every flower a miracle. But first, food, strength was needed, energy was needed for the body. He opened the cupboard, the hinges creaked again. There were biscuits left, more than half. There was jam, red and sweet. There was water, clear and cold. It was enough, no more was needed. He prepared a simple breakfast, placed everything on the table neatly. He sat down, ate slowly, without rushing, savoring it, feeling every bite, thinking, planning his mind, bringing the day to life. Today would be beautiful, productive, satisfying, meaningful. It will be a tiring but pleasant tiredness, a healthy tiredness. Maybe he will sleep here again tonight, on the mattress under the blanket in peace, or he will go home to his own bed, see, and decide when the time comes. It doesn't matter. Flexible, free, no pressure. Their own decision, their own life, their own rhythm. He finished breakfast, drank the last sip of water. He cleared the table, carefully, methodically. He cleaned, wiped, organized everything. Everything in its place, every object in its place, order and peace. He was ready now to sow seeds, to start work, to create. He got up. His legs were strong. He was ready. He took the seed packets, all of them. He would look at them one by one. He took a small shovel, light, handy. It had been with him for years. He didn't take gloves. His hands weren't needed. He loved feeling the soil in his hands, on his skin, on his fingers. Its warmth, its texture, its moisture, its liveliness, its energy. The soil was alive. The soil was breathing. The soil was giving. He went outside, leaving the door open behind him, letting the air in, letting the light in, letting the cabin breathe. The sun had risen a little higher, moving toward the middle of the sky. The temperature was rising, but slowly, gently, not suddenly, pleasant, comfortable, balanced. Not too hot, not too cold, just right. Perfect working weather, a perfect gardening day. The birds were still chirping, singing their songs, their own melodies, their own rhythms. The bees were buzzing among the flowers, working, gathering honey, carrying pollen. Life was everywhere. Movement was everywhere. But it was a calm movement, a peaceful movement, a life without haste. He walked to the south corner of the garden, slowly following the path. This was the spot for tomatoes, the perfect spot. Sunny, warm, sheltered. The soil was good, rich. He had prepared it last week, put in the work. He had dug it, leveled it, cleared the stones, fertilized it a little with organic fertilizer. Now it was ready, waiting for seeds, waiting for life. He knelt down, slowly, cautiously. The soil was still slightly damp from last night's rain, moist. As he knelt, he felt the coldness. It passed through his pants, but it wasn't uncomfortable. Nice, clean, natural. He took in the smell of the soil deeply, closed his nose and breathed it, noted his lungs. A wonderful, perfect, his favorite smell, the smell he loved most. The smell of life, the smell of growth, the smell of hope, the smell of the future. He plunged his hand into the soil, his fingers sinking in easily. It was soft, almost like ash, fine, light, but moist, alive, perfect, just as he wanted it, just as it needed to be for the seeds. He took the seed packet, the tomato packet, and opened it carefully. Red, round, tiny seeds spilled into his palm, trembling slightly in his hand. He counted them carefully. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Enough, even too many. He put the rest back in the packet and closed it carefully. He held the seeds in his palm, gently, softly, small, precious, fragile, each one, a plant, a harvest, a meal, a life, each one, a miracle, waiting, sleeping, waiting to spring into action. He dug small holes with a shovel, in a row, in neat lines, equally spaced, measured, balanced, each hole a few centimeters deep, 3 or maybe 4, not too much, not too little, just the right depth he had learned over the years he knew from experience. Then he placed a seed in each hole, gently, carefully, lovingly, as if laying a baby down, as if entrusting something precious. Then he covered it with soil, gently, slowly. He pressed lightly with his fingertips, never squeezing. The seed must not be crushed. It must breathe, find space, grow, develop, then the next one. The same process, the same care, the same love. Whole, seed, soil, press, move on. Again, again, again. A rhythm formed. 5 seeds, 6 seeds. 5 holes, 6 holes. 5 hopes, 6 dreams, infinite potential. When he finished, he stepped back, straightened his knees, but did not stand up yet. He looked at his work long and carefully. Nothing was visible, just plain brown earth, but he knew what lay beneath. He could feel it. Seeds, waiting, asleep, as if dream, awaiting awakening, growth, life, light. They would emerge in a few days. A few days of patience, a few days of faith. Small green sprouts, delicate, fragile, but determined. Then they would grow, a little more each day, become stronger, branch out. They would bloom, yellow flowers, beautiful scents. They would bear fruit, red tomatoes, juicy, sweet, warm. Thomas would see them, harvest them, eat them, be happy. The cycle would be complete. Success would come. Satisfaction would be found. The story went on like this, slowly, calmly narrated, just like soothing bedtime stories, just like peaceful nighttime tales for adults. He moved on to the cucumbers a few steps to the side, a different section. Same process, same care, same rhythm, same love. Seed, soil, hole, cover, press down. Patience, care, love, hope, faith. Then beans, peas, carrots, lettuce, spinach, each one a different seed, different size, different shape, different color, but the same potential, the same miracle, the same life, the same future. Thomas plants, plants, without stopping, but slowly. Hours pass, time flows, the sun rises in the sky, the temperature rises, but slowly, warm, pleasant. He sweats lightly from his forehead, his back, but he is happy, very happy, satisfied, peaceful, balanced, doing what he loves, doing what is meaningful, doing what is important, planting life, planting the future, planting hope. This quiet, slow, careful work is like meditation, like a soothing ritual, like a calm activity that cures insomnia. Each seed was a breath, each movement a relief, each hole a peace. The garden embraced him, the soil cradled him, the sun warmed him. He was here, in the present, at peace, at home. Just like in a soothing bedtime story, slow and calm. It was noon. The sun was now directly overhead, at the highest point in the sky. Her stomach was hungry, growling softly in protest. But she wanted to finish first. There were just a few seeds left, and she didn't want to leave them half done. Lettuce, the last lettuce seeds, small, blackish, shiny seeds, glistening in the light. She planted them too, with the same care, the same love, the same hope. She placed the last seed in the last hole, gently, softly, as if it were a farewell. She covered it with soil, pressed down lightly, and said goodbye. Okay, it's done, it's finished. They are all in the soil. They are all safe. They are all waiting. They are all sleeping. They are all dreaming. Their new lives, their new beginnings, their green futures. He rose slowly, supporting himself on his knees. His knees ached, stiff from crouching and standing, his joints complaining, his back seized up. He stretched, his shoulders cracked, but he didn't care. He didn't even listen. It was a good pain, a healthy pain, the pain of work, the pain of labor, the pain of creation. It was valuable, meaningful, a source of pride. This pain was a sign of success, proof of productivity, evidence of giving life. He looked at his hands, examining them closely. They were earthy, dirty, wet, brown. His fingernails were black, his fingers stained, his palms damp, but they were beautiful hands, very beautiful hands. Hard-working hands, tireless hands, life-giving hands, creative hands. These hands had planted how many seeds today, started how many lives, created how many futures. They were honorable hands. He walked to the well, slowly, tired but satisfied. In the corner of the garden was an old stone well, perhaps centuries old, the stones mossy and worn. Inside was cold, clean water, deep water, clear water. He took the bucket, a metal bucket, heavy. He lowered it into the well, holding the rope tightly. Careful, he lowered it slowly, hand over hand, the rope rubbing against his palms. He reached the water level, heard the sound, a splash, a soft thud. The bucket filled. Then he pulled it up, his arms strained, his muscles burning. It was heavy, very heavy, full, almost overflowing. Cold, ice cold. He placed the bucket at the edge of the well, on the stone rim. He dipped his hands into the water. His body shuddered. It was very cold, a sharp cold, but it was pleasant, invigorating, awakening. He rubbed his hands together under the water, rubbing them together, interlacing his fingers. The dirt washed away, dissolved, mixed with the water. Brown clouds spread through the water, his hands slowly becoming clean, pink cold. His skin tightened, reddened but felt refreshed. He washed his face too, cupped 2 handfuls of water, splashed it on his face. Cold, very cold. His breath caught for a moment. He washed his neck, his arms, his elbows, his wrists. Cool, invigorating, refreshing, revitalizing, awakening. Water dripped from his face, his neck, his arms. He dried himself on the hem of his shirt, rubbing the fabric, soaking up the water. Simple but sufficient. It did the job. He was clean now, fresh, not rested, but renewed, refreshed. But he was hungry, very hungry, his stomach aching. He walked to the cabin, his feet heavy, his steps slow. He went inside. The dim light enveloped him. His eyes adjusted. He looked at the cupboard, opened the door. The biscuits were almost gone. Just a few crumbs left, and there was little jam left, just a little at the bottom of the jar. It wasn't enough. It wouldn't satisfy his hunger. It wouldn't meet his needs. He had to go home, to his own home, cook something in his kitchen, or to town, to the market, buy something, bread, fresh bread, cheese, white cheese, vegetables, fresh vegetables. But he had no energy, no strength. His legs wouldn't hold him up. He was tired, very tired, exhausted. He just wanted to rest a little, sit down, do nothing. Just for a moment. Just a moment. A few minutes. She sat down at the table, slowly, slumped into the wooden chair. She buried her head in her hands, rested her elbows on the table. She closed her eyes. Darkness fell. Peace came. A few minutes, just a few minutes. Then he would get up, but the minutes stretched out. The seconds slowed down. Time melted away. His head fell forward, his chin touched his chest. His breathing deepened, became regular, slowed down. He was sleeping, unknowingly, unwillingly, without resistance, right where he sat, at the table, on the chair, tired, exhausted, but satisfied, peaceful, happy, the peace of a job well done, the peace of a seed sown, the peace of a life created. The sun was shining through the window. A beam of light was coming in. The light fell on Thomas's face, on his cheek, his forehead, his eyes, warm, soft, gentle, golden yellow, honey-colored. But it didn't disturb him. It didn't wake him up. It didn't break his sleep. On the contrary, it soothed him, deepened his sleep, strengthened his peace. It was like a lullaby, like the lullabies mothers sing. It was like a blanket, like a soft woolen blanket. It was like an embrace, like a safe, warm embrace. Thomas was sleeping, deeply, peacefully. His breathing was steady, his face calm, his muscles relaxed. A perfect sleep, a perfect rest, a peaceful repose, just like the deep sleep brought on by soothing bedtime stories, just like the calm narrations that cure adults' insomnia. Outside, birds were chirping, singing melodies, composing songs. Bees were buzzing, flying from flower to flower, working tirelessly. The wind rustled the leaves, making a soft whisper, a gentle sound. Life went on, relentlessly, without rest, breathlessly, tirelessly. The cycle continued. Time flowed. The world turned. But Thomas was resting. He had stopped. He was breathing. He was renewing himself. He deserved it. He had earned this right. He had worked, sweated, labored. He had sown, done his duty, completed his work. Now it was time for peace, time for sleep, time for dreams, time for renewal, time for deep rest, time for peaceful sleep, time to breathe easy. In his dream, he saw the garden, his own garden, but it was different, brighter, more vivid, more surreal, greener, unbelievably green, a green that dazzled his eye. The flowers were bigger, giant, magnificent. The fruits were more abundant, dozens on every branch, hundreds on every plant. Everything was perfect, flawless, complete, ideal, imaginary, like paradise, like a dream. He was walking there, on the path, on the pebbles, but he was young again, maybe 20, 30. His back was straight, his shoulders broad, his steps quick, energetic. His hands were strong, his arms sturdy, his legs tireless. He was happy, very happy, smiling. His father was there beside him, right beside him, shoulder to shoulder. He was smiling, that loving smile. They were talking, their lips were moving, they were gesturing, but no words were heard, no sounds were made, no sentences were formed. It was only felt, deeply felt, understood in the heart. Love, deep love, unconditional love, pride, fatherly pride, son's pride, happiness, pure happiness, boundless happiness, peace, deep peace, eternal peace, togetherness, family bond, origin, roots. This dream, this beautiful dream, this peaceful dream, just like the scenes in the most beautiful bedtime stories, just like the peaceful images that nighttime fairy tales provide. A soothing, calming, healing dream. He woke up slowly, very slowly, gradually. He didn't know how many hours had passed. Maybe one, maybe two, maybe more. The sun had risen high, had moved across the sky, had shifted towards the west. It was perhaps afternoon, perhaps evening, perhaps later. It didn't matter. It didn't matter at all. Time didn't matter. He had rested, slept, renewed himself, refreshed, strengthened, energized. His hunger had subsided a little, or he had forgotten it, or he no longer cared. He got up, slowly stretched, yawned. He looked at the window, squinting, adjusting to the light. The garden was beautiful, very beautiful, perfect. Everything was in its place. Everything was as it should be. The seeds were in the soil, safe, sleeping. The sprouts were growing, slowly, patiently, persistently. The flowers were blooming, the petals expanding, the colors shining. The cycle continued, relentlessly, tirelessly, endlessly. Life went on. Beauty increased, peace spread. Thomas smiled, satisfied, happy, peaceful. He was here now, exactly where he needed to be. The story went on like this, slowly, calmly, just like the best bedtime stories, just like soothing nighttime tales written for adults. Every moment was a breath, every scene a peace, every word a relief. He spent the rest of the day calmly, very peacefully, very slowly. There was no rush, no fuss, no stress. He tidied up the shed a little more, wiped the shelves with a cloth. There were dusty spots, cobwebs. He cleaned them all. He checked the tools, one by one, picked each one up, looked at it, tested it. He finally repaired the broken shovel, that long-forgotten job, that postponed task. He replaced the handle, removed the old one, which was already rotten, and found a new handle. A stick he found in an old sack, straight, sturdy, the right size. He adapted it, cut it, filed it, smoothed it. He tied it to the shovel with rope, tightly, winding the rope around several times, tightening the knots, secure, very secure. It doesn't wobble. He tested it, made a few movements, swung it in the air. Good, very good, perfect. Now usable, now ready, now complete. As evening approached, time flowed slowly. The hours melted away. The air cooled. The temperature dropped. A light breeze began. The sun began to set slowly, sliding toward the horizon. The sky became colorful, like a painter's palette. Orange, dark orange, red, fiery red, pink, light pink, purple, deep purple, navy blue. Every evening is the same. Every evening a day ends. But every evening is different. Every color is unique. Every moment is unrepeatable. Every day is unique. Every day is a miracle. Every day is a gift. Every day is a present. Thomas stepped out of the shed, opened the door, and stepped outside. He took one last walk around the garden, a farewell walk, a goodnight walk. He looked at every plant, examined every leaf. He checked every flower, counted every petal. Everything was fine. Everything was perfect. Everything was as it should be. He would come back tomorrow morning, early at dawn. He would water every plant, every flower. He would check for disease, for pests. He would show care, give love, show attention every day, every morning, every season, every year, forever, for life, for a lifetime. This is his life. This is his path. This Steiny is his death. This is his purpose. This is his meaning. This is his reason. This is his happiness. This is his peace. This is his home. He stood beside the old oak tree for the last time today. He looked up at the sky, high up, very high up into infinity. The stars were beginning to appear, one by one, slowly. The first evening star, bright alone, solitary like a sentinel, then the others, the second, the third, the 10th, the 100th. The tree was silent, making no sound, saying nothing. Strong, very strong, unshakable, indestructible, unchanging, infinite, eternal, permanent. Thomas placed his hand on its trunk. One last time today, a farewell touch. He felt that connection again, that old familiar bond, that understanding, that communication, that dialogue. Unity, harmony, balance, peace, tranquility, comfort, security. He returned to the cabin, walked the path one last time. He entered, crossed the threshold, returned home. He closed the door, pushed it gently. The creak was familiar. He lit the lantern, struck a match. The flame flared. A soft light spread, golden yellow, honey color. Shadows danced on the walls. The play began. He stretched out on the mattress. For the last time today, His tired body collapsed onto the bed. He pulled the blanket over himself, covered up, warmed up, comfortable, very comfortable, soft, warm, safe, protected, secure, peaceful. Today was beautiful, very beautiful, perfect. Tomorrow would also be beautiful. He knew it. He felt it. Every day beautiful, every day new, every day different, every day a gift, every day a blessing, every day gratitude. Her eyes closed, slowly, gradually, inevitably, tired, very tired, exhausted, but happy at peace. Her breathing slowed, the tempo dropped, the rhythm decreased, it deepened, went to the bottom of his lungs, became completely full. It became regular, mechanical, like a clock, like music. Sleep came. It was expected. He was ready. He opened his arms. Soft, feather soft, light as cotton. Gentle, loving, compassionate, motherly, inevitable, irresistible, undeniable, natural. It embraced Thomas, wrapped around him, covered him. It carried him, took him away, flew him to dreams, beautiful dreams, peaceful dreams, to memories, sweet memories, loving memories, to the future, a hopeful future, a bright future, nowhere, everywhere, to infinity, to eternity, deep sleep, very deep sleep, peaceful sleep, restorative sleep, just like the pure sleep found in the best bedtime stories, just like the deep rest offered by soothing nighttime tales written for adults. Outside, the night was silent, a deep silence, a sacred silence. The stars were bright, sparkling, like diamonds. The moon was rising, climbing in the sky, like a silver boat. The sky was infinite, boundless, limitless, eternal. The garden slept in deep slumber, at peace, dreaming. The plants rested, the leaves rested, the branches rested. Seeds grew, underground, in the dark, silently. Roots stretched, trunks swelled, leaves formed. Life went on relentlessly, never stopping, never ceasing, invisible, unseen, but happening. Silent, unheard, but real. Unceasingly, tirelessly, endlessly, infinitely. The cycle turned, the wheel turned, the wheel turned. The seasons changed. Spring, summer, autumn, winter, time flowed like a river without stopping. But Thomas didn't care. He wasn't aware. He didn't know. He knew actually. He had always known. He would always know. He had accepted it, understood it, grasped it. He had made peace, found peace, was satisfied. It was peace, deep peace, complete peace. He was at home, in his own home, in the home of his heart, in the home of his soul. And now, dear listener, you too, here right now in the silence of this night, listener, companion, friend, confidant, traveler, wanderer, seeker, finder, let your eyes close, grow heavy, fall. If they are not already closed, close them now, slowly. Let your breathing slow, deepen, become steady. Let it be deep. Fill your lungs. Take in peace. Let your body relax. Your muscles soften. Your joints open up. Let the tension dissolve. The stress melt away. Let your shoulders drop. Your jaw relax. Your forehead smooth out. Today's fatigue is behind you, far behind, far away. Tomorrow's worries have not yet arrived, will not arrive, not now. Now there is only this moment, this single moment, this special moment, this special moment, this peace, deep peace, complete peace. This silence, beautiful silence, healing silence. This rest, deep rest, healing rest. You don't have to do anything. You don't need to do anything. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't need to go anywhere. Just stay here, right now. Relaxed, very relaxed, perfectly relaxed. Safe, completely safe, absolutely safe. Warm, cozy, soft, peaceful. Just like in Thomas's cabin. just like on his mattress, just like under his blanket, protected, wrapped up, embraced like Thomas's garden, like his beautiful garden. Your mind planted seeds today, many seeds, thoughts, ideas, plans, dreams, memories, recollections, the past, tradition, dreams, hopes, aspirations, the future. Now they need time to grow. A lot of time. Silence, deep silence, peaceful silence, darkness, soft darkness, protective darkness, sleep, deep sleep, healing sleep, restful sleep. Let them grow. Let them develop. Let them sprout. Let your dreams shake you, embrace you, envelop you, carry you, take you, fly you far away, very far away, to unknown places, or close by, very close by, to familiar places. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. Makes no difference. Just go. Let yourself go. Surrender. It's surrender to sleep. Surrender to peace. Surrender to rest. This story, this soothing bedtime story, is now ending, slowly coming to a close. This nighttime tale prepared for adults, this calm narration, this slow rhythm, this story that cures insomnia, this narrative that brings peaceful sleep. But your story continues. Your journey goes on. Now, like Thomas, you are ready to rest, ready to sleep. Your garden is planted, your seeds are in the soil, the future is growing. Now just let go, just rest, just sleep. Deep, deep, very deep. Peaceful, peaceful, very peaceful. Safe, safe, completely safe. Good night, dear listener. Good night, weary traveler. Good night, seeker of peace. Sleep well, sleep deeply, sleep comfortably. May your dreams be beautiful, peaceful, meaningful. Tomorrow a new day will begin. A new garden will be planted. But now there is only sleep, only peace, only rest. Let yourself go. Let it go. Let yourself sleep. Deep, calm, peaceful, eternal. Just like at the end of the most beautiful bedtime stories. Just like at the end of the most soothing nighttime tales. Good night. Good night. Good night.